right, we need a motion to conclude executive session and reconvene an open meeting. Moved by Mr. Lawrence, second by Mr. Barrett. Any questions? We want to note there were no action taken in executive session. All in favor? 6-0, motion carried. Okay, we're going to move on to policy agenda. Ordinance A, first reading. Ms. Lucy?
Ordinance to approve a zoning map amendment to authorize a change in zoning for property identified at 2330 Atkinson Road, including 2 unaddressed parcels on Bertucci Boulevard.
Okay, we need a motion on that. Moved by Ms. Deming. I mean, Ms. Moved by Ms. Newman. I need a second so we can move this forward. Second by Mr. Barrett. That is our first reading. We vote on it next week. Okay. Or the week after.
Mr. President, I had some questions, but we adjourned in order to do this. I'll try and make them quick.
Well, that's the first reading.
I understand, but that's why that's why I didn't ask my questions earlier during the
okay.
the public hearing, because we wanted to start this meeting on time.
We're going to allow it. Go ahead.
Thank you. Jerry, a couple of questions. Between Sailor Drive.
Yes, sir.
All right, so if I own a house on the west side of Sailor Drive, my property backs up against the Bertucci property. There's going to be a buffer or an easement there. How wide will that be?
We know that there is at least a 25-foot easement there. The documents also show that there was a 25-foot construction easement on the other side of that. Mr. Stiefel believes that that was a temporary easement, right, and that that's no longer there, but we'll try to get a straight answer, but it would at least be 25 feet. At least
be 25 feet. Would that be wooded or?
Yes.
Okay. And I heard apartments, no apartments, and in the ordinance it says there are going to be apartments, and on the map in the legend it says there are going to be apartments, but I think Mr. Stiefel said no apartments.
That's right. It's multi-family, but it's going to be townhouses and condos.
Okay. Utilities would be underground?
I would assume that all of them are going to be.
Yeah, he said, yeah, okay.
Yes, he says yes.
Let's see. There's not been an oak tree count or anything yet.
Not yet. That would come next.
All right, and the let's see. All right, and the two big factors really are traffic load and flow and the new Pops Ferry Bridge. Those seem to be the major stumbling blocks. Does the city have any money available, or will have? I mean, to my knowledge, there isn't, to say, this would be great. Let's get started on widening Atkinson Road. Geez, what would that cost you to do that? You got to buy the property. You got to figure out how you're going to. So I mean, that would. Exactly. So you're talking about buying property at least on one side of the road, maybe on both sides. Right, and that leads me, Bonneville Drive, I think, is the connection, would be the connection, and I heard a Knox box
yes, sir,
on there.
Emergency access only.
Does that road have to be cut at all?
No, sir.
I mean, you wouldn't need a gate, you wouldn't need anything, it just wouldn't be a road there.
They have their emergency accesses from Pops Ferry and from Atkinson. They will have.
Right.
They had just put that in as a connector on that side, but they've already agreed that they would leave the gate there with a Knox box.
Would it be, and Dennis, I can see you in the back, but I'm wondering, first of all, I like the project, but this traffic and infrastructure gets in the way, and what I'm wondering is, could this be phased so that the ingress and egress, depending on which phase was being done, was strictly through Pops Ferry Road, and then maybe some of those residential units be built a little later, maybe after the road. You know what I'm saying? I mean, timing seems to be a big issue in terms of infrastructure, and that's probably another discussion for another time, but I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, good comments, and we have very limited amount of time to speak.
Right.
But to get to your point, a couple things. One is, yes, we don't mind not building the connection at all. Bonneville, you know, 'cause if it's not gonna be used, it would just save money, not to build the road, the stub out, and we could just ignore that, because there's still a big green space there. So if the city decides that connection's really not necessary, we don't even need to build it, then we wouldn't have to put an ox box, basically, to your point.
And looking at currently, when you come down Atkinson towards Pops Ferry and you turn in, there's only one road in that takes you to Tri-County Optic, I think, right? But there's another road that would be to the east of that would come in some point. It's not named.
Actually, as the project is laid out, there's actually 5 entrances, one off of Pops Ferry, and then 3 off of Atkinson Road, and one at Bonneville. So if we eliminated the Bonneville access or connection point, there'd be 4 accesses, 3 on Pops Ferry, 3 on Atkinson, 1 on Pops Ferry. With regard to your the comments on Pops Ferry, yes, we can limit not only the construction activity and access for construction vehicles to Pops Ferry Road and I'm sorry, to Atkinson Road,
Right.
But we can also eliminate Bonneville Drive, so that basically all access is either off of Atkinson or off of Pops Ferry.
Right. When I'm thinking Atkinson, I'm thinking whatever those roads are that are off Atkinson. Anyway, I'm just thinking maybe there's a way to do this in a 6 to 8 or 10 year time frame when maybe the city's got some money or funding somewhere to do some infrastructure improvement, but it would have to be phased appropriately. And anyway, that's
And as far as the time, Jerry had mentioned 6 to 8 years, or roughly 6 years, but the phase 1, which is basically all the single-family residential, the east half of the project, all that is going to probably be finished in a couple of years.
The lots will be finished. I mean, what do you out the blue, you're gonna sell them and they're gonna be implemented in 10 a year, 15 a year?
I would estimate realistically, that the way this thing looks like it's lining up here, we will have all the infrastructure in the single-family residential area constructed probably within about 18 months, roughly. And then it would probably take about 2 years to build it out.
is it
So, you're talking about as far as the single-family residential part, that's the east half of the property.
right. And would it be possible to do that phase last?
No, I don't.
Or I think this was going to be done in 3 phases or even in the second phase. And like I say, this different discussion for a different time. This is only the first reading. I just had to get this out before I went home and kicked the dog. Now I don't have to kick the dog. So thank you. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Chair.
Is there anyone else want to have
I
a
just
discussion?
have one question.
Okay.
What's the distance between Sailor and that development? I know the distance between them, but what's the length of that area from the water back up towards Atkins Road?
From Sailor Road over to...
Yeah, basically how you have Sailor here, how far is that distance? And I know that if somebody said something about an 8-foot fence, but you said that's going to be a wooded area? That buffer zone between that?
The question was, would the wooded area be left?
Between the back of the Sailor Road or Sailor Drive properties and the back of this property, that will be wooded?
It'll be wooded unless for whatever reason the city had to go in there and do some work on utility lines in that area.
Okay.
What
So basically, you're saying there'd at least be 25 foot of woods between, or whatever's currently there?
Well, actually, Dennis and I had this conversation between the breaks. They want to put the 8-foot fence back along the back of the properties that face Sailor Drive.
Okay.
So it would be that, and then the wooded area.
Okay.
And then the single-family houses.
That's all I have.
Okay.
Anything else from anyone? Okay, thank you, Ms. Gurriel. And that was our first reading. That's the wrong one. All right, we're going to move on to the consent agenda. Need a motion on that.
So moved.
Moved by Dr. Tisdale.
Mr.
Second.
President, I would ask that, item A, the resolution regarding the wall, you know, we're going through some exercises with the architects and, you know, for security and some of those other things. We can pass it and do it later, but I think that, you know, what we're trying to do is get, you know, implement a plan where we have some security and those kinds of things, and I don't know that we need to do it. What?
Wait.
Hey, item A.
Hey.
Oh,
Four,
okay,
5A.
good. You scared me.
Keep going.
When I heard wall, I thought nationally.
No.
Okay.
No,
All right, I'm thinking, what's he talking about? Okay.
Okay, we got a motion on the floor. We got a motion on the floor. Can I get a second? I'll second it myself. Okay, discussion now. Back to discussion. I just wanted to get a second on that by Ms. Newman.
5A.
Okay, yeah, I don't mind discussing 5A right now. I mean, we're just, last I heard, you have somebody looking at it, you're looking at redrawing.
Somebody's
some-
Frank Genzer, and he's got a task order to come up with a drawing from downstairs to, oddly enough, with the events of Virginia Beach this last week, oddly enough, 2 weeks ago, we started working on the security, upgrading the security downstairs. That will involve moving that counter, which is the old water department counter where people used to pay their water bills downstairs, moving that out, emptying, opening that area but back, putting in a security window where
Like
people
similar
will,
to the public safety, some of those.
similar to how the public safety center is, and putting in a glass partition so that people would have to use their key card and/or be buzzed in to come in the elevator or go up the stairs. And obviously some other security factors around the back of the room, and open the area up a little bit more. That's what he's gotten a sketch, and he's working on that for us now. I think we're way overdue. When I remember back when we had the flag drama, I remember looking up from my desk and seeing a guy with an AK walking down the hall in this building, heading for the mayor's office. Didn't realize he was actually going to the bathroom, but I mean, we here in City Hall have a pretty much a regular flow of either tourists or just strangers wandering through this building, and it's the people that work in this building are nervous.
Yeah, basically the reconfiguration of that whole first floor with regard to security, as well as, you know, lobby, personnel, those kinds of folks. And I think we ought to wait a little bit and go forward with
Right,
bring that to you.
and really my prime concern is that there's an area set aside for the clerks where they don't have a lot of flow-through traffic, and where if a councilman wants to meet a constituent there or to speak with the clerks about something of a sensitive nature or whatever, then the world's not listening.
Councilman, there is a room right behind you that's set aside for the council to meet with people. Council's not
but-
supposed to have an office in the.
And that's great, but I'm also down there when I'm talking with the clerks, or we're discussing some things, or they're working on some things, or I've asked them to perform a task for me where we got a lot of traffic coming because there's an east-west. It's a short haul. It's
Right.
almost like a rabbit warren down there. But it'd be nice if they could come in and go to work without all the interruptions, whether it's people going through making a comment, whether it's people hanging outside in the hallway to listen to a conversation or whatever. Those are my concerns.
So that would be nice for the city clerk as well.
The problem you have is all those cabinets in the front belongs to us.
Well, and the thing is, the city clerk doesn't answer to us, but these clerks do. I mean, they're employees and they work for us, and what we're trying to do is give them some semblance of privacy to do their work uninterrupted.
We're not arguing that case or anything, just, we're gonna try to reconfigure a
Well, it sounds like we're arguing the case, and I don't want it to be a big thing, but it's becoming a big thing, and it's just,
Well, we could put a
for
wall.
$300, we could put a wall up there with a door, and it would resolve the issue, but we're here waiting a year, 2 years later. I don't want to get any farther into this. We can move forward. What I'd like to do is table this again until we have something to look at, so we know exactly what we're talking about.
Okay, so you move to table A?
I'll move to table this for a month.
Second by Mr. Deming. Mr. Deming. Any questions on,
Mr. Newman, is that Mr. Newman?
any questions on the tabling? All in favor? Tabling A,
And the problem, only thing
760.
I want to pass on to y'all, when you look at that, all them filing cabinets belong to us. And we need everything we do with the clerks inside of one room. And that room you're talking about is not big enough. When you start putting all them filing cabinets, there's a lot of filing cabinets that we have, they gotta go outside the door, go behind the counter. Right. So when you look at something, make sure you look at it the right way.
Let me write that.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna start with, okay, on the consent agenda, I'm gonna start with Mr. Barrett. You have none? Okay, Dr. Tisdale?
Yes, on item K, Christie, if you don't mind, this is the Blackline Corporation, the contract for the Sanger Theater exterior repairs, the lowest and best bids, $2.1 million,
You got it.
and that's just for the base
keep it
bid.
simple.
There are some alternates that aren't included in that, and really, I'm thinking this is, I think for the brickwork, the fly, and, or whatever they call, flyaway, whatever they call it up there, and the roof. So that's going to be $2 million, and all of this money for the Sanger's coming out of the last bond issue we approved, I think, correct?
Grants and some other things that we're in the process of doing right
And
now.
we do have a $100,000 grant from Archives and History that will be used, and I do believe the rest of it comes out of that bond money. Rachel, is that correct?
You know, this is
Budget
this is the
funding.
perfect segue. I was asked by Councilman Barrett last meeting, what happens when a bid comes in a little high? What do you have to do, take some money from somewhere else? My cute answer was, welcome to my world. Actually, that's exactly right. And what we promised to do for you was to be as transparent as possible this year as to where all the money was. I'm going to hand you...
As opposed to the previous years?
Yeah, exactly, as opposed to some, as I'm told. What I'm going to hand out to you is the quarterly update that shows exactly where all that money is, where every dollar. Now, it will be different than the last quarter because bids have come in high, and we've had to move money from somewhere else. But the Sanger is a big one. We're in order to come up with the $2 million we needed for this award, we had to move money, and you'll see the summaries in that handout.
And it's line 10 on there is the Sanger Theater. If you look over, you'll see the $100,000 grant. We have $269,000 coming out of the 17 bond and 1.9 coming out of the 19 bond.
So basically, we budgeted, if you will, $2.5 million.
Correct.
Let me say, there's about $600,000 of the expense that came from the collapse of the replacement of the tower.
Okay.
From when we had to shut it down.
Yes, sir.
That was about $600,000 of
Yes.
repair that needed to be done.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah, project number 997, you can see all the way across, including how much money is in that project today.
My problem is the same problem I had before. I tell you, I'd vote for the bond as long as we finish paving all the roads, and we have not finished paving all the roads. We don't need to put $2.7 million into the Sanger until we finish doing the roads. Said that from the beginning, not gonna change. I was all for the bonds, to put it into the roads, to take care of a lot of people, west, east, everywhere. That 2.7, and that, too much money at this time to put in any building. At $2,700,000 is strong money. And we only, even in your bond thing, you only had $1.5 million. So I mean, that's just way too much money at this time to me to put in there.
Well,
Well, the purpose is to take care of the roads, but the reason we wanted to pass the $14 million bond. the road was the key thing.
And this is only securing the outside of the building?
This is the, replacing the roof and redoing the fly tower, which will include some structural repairs and the bricks on the fly tower.
So you still, would there be any other exterior work required after this?
The only exterior work required will be repointing of the rest of the bricks, not on the fly tower.
That's one of the alternates.
That's one of
isn't
the alternates. To do that, here, let me look at what it was.
This
We're
building will
out, we're
cost you
casting our net
$4.5
wide,
million.
trying to find some more money. We had the deputy director of MDA tour the Sanger this weekend, and he's been asked to try and find us money as well. So we've also put we're putting the Sanger into the
I've got
BP
it,
portal.
Christie. I've got it. So, and what I'm getting at is, that's just the base bid. Then you've got, if you're going to put new HVAC units in there, the bids range from $212,000 to $231,000. Alternate 2, that's an additional $630,000 to $850,000 for the repointing and cleaning of the east, north, and south elevations. That's the rest of the brick, and we're not even talking about the interior yet.
No.
Correct. No, we're not getting all that to do all three of these, it's just under 3 million.
Yeah, so it's, but the point I'm getting at is, I was sure it exceeded whatever we had budgeted, and looking at Mike's spreadsheet, yeah, we kind of blew that budget, and the question is, if you're gonna do this and we decide to move forward, great, wonderful, but we also have to do something with the interior a little further down the road when the exterior is done. In the meantime, what are some of these other projects that we said we'd like to see done that aren't gonna get done in order to do this project, more or less? I'll just leave it at that. So thank you for answering my question.
Absolutely.
And thank you for
Okay.
the spreadsheet, Mike. Appreciate it.
Okay, Mr. Lemming?
So, if we're talking about getting money from the MDA, putting it on the BP project, if we are, and those are realistic sources of funding, why don't we hold off on this and see if we can get that money? This is a lot of money. We have Lee Young's project coming into there. We talked about doing connection things with that area, and we should be able to find some other sources of funding. Like Mr. Tisdale said, the reason why this council agreed to go into this new $14 million bond was to get some of these other projects done. And we know that there was a lot of pet projects that was on that the administration wanted to get done. And in order to make this happen, we found some other areas we could spend money on and we need to spend money on. Now, if we go into this is just the first one of those few pet projects that was clearly undershot. We're gonna have to take away from things that we need to get done in order to get this done. And if we have other potential sources of revenue, why not hold off and see if those other sources of revenue come to fruition before we spend money that we need for other projects that those other sources of revenue can't go to?
Well, let me answer that. You know, if we wait and do nothing, it's going to get worse. The number is going to go higher regarding to the damage that we'll see, not only in the exterior, but the interior will cause. I mean, it's
Luxuries versus necessities, Mr. Mayor.
well,
I'll go for that.
again, it's asset management too. That's an asset that's depreciating and going away if we do nothing.
I can say the same thing about the roads in my ward.
Yeah.
Well, sure. Yeah, and you know, again, we did an analysis, and I guess the whole road plan of that 14 million is going to be related to the road, the science that we paid to say this is what you need to do, and it's dictated by the need. I'm not.
No, I get that, but what we're saying now is this luxury is going to take away
Well,
from the ability to
let me respectfully disagree. The luxury, it's an asset. It's one of the things that need to be done. The folks that are invested in downtown Howard Avenue realize that that's an asset and realize that it can be turned around. And, you know, we may have to do some creative things with that place, but, you know, we're going to face folks like the Gulf Coast Symphony and some of these other people that have been using this as a tool, as a place to add that cultural aspect to it. So, it's not a pet project. In my project, it's something that Biloxi needs because it has been here since 1927. Now I have no problem with, let's talk more seriously about it, and we don't have to do it tonight. But I mean, we can't wait without. The whole project. If you say get rid of it, well then you might as well, because if it falls down, it falls down, and we have no value in it. So, I don't. Whatever you feel.
Well,
I think the case is to be made. To your satisfaction that it's an asset versus the money that we're going to put in. I just had a conversation today.
Pope, I agree with Robert in the sense that they might give us $100,000, but that's not gonna get it. They might give us $500,000. They might give us
They
$1
might
million.
give us $1 million.
Right.
Wait,
I'm just saying.
let me say this.
So why not
Let me-
wait to
wait.
see what you can get from
Let
them?
me say this, we don't know what we're gonna get.
Right,
Okay,
so-
but what they did the other day, they gave $1.4 million to the Krebs house. Okay, that's thing about this size right here. So $22 million they give away every year. You know how much Biloxi's gotten in that area?
I understand all that, but
All
I'm
right,
just saying.
so, I mean-
Once we start this thing, then we hook for $3 million. And that's the problem. Why not see what we can get from anybody?
Christie,
I agree with them.
You're fixing the look, you put the money in the roof and the exterior, and if somebody wants to come around, hey, recover, give me $3 million, you can have the place.
Do we have a lobbyist in Jackson that we pay that can try to
Yeah.
secure some of this?
We met, the two, Roland Weeks is on the board, Mike McGreevy's Ida Weeks has visited us a number of times, and there's 4 people on the board, I think, so we've got 50% of the folks that need to make the call there and aware of this. And, so we're trying to get what we can. But, the timeliness of it is important, because the longer we wait, the worse it's gonna get.
Well,
how long is this bid
I
good?
can't support it.
How long is this bid good for, Christie?
It's good
About
for
another
60
week.
days, yeah, and we're about out of
About-
time.
Oh, another
Another
week?
60 days, is that what you said? Another 60 days?
No, not another 60 days. We open bids in April something, and they're good for 60 days from the bid opening.
I might point out that in terms of moving money, I was hands-off.
So would another 2 weeks hurt it?
Bottom dozen projects, which are the
Would
ones
another
that
2 weeks
are in
hurt it?
your awards. I moved no money out of those projects. They're still just the way they were originally priced.
Where was it moved from?
my comment on it is this, we need to make a hard decision, because that is our cornerstone at Singer Theater. And if you don't do anything with it, we might as well go ahead and make the decision whether we want to fix it up or do we want to tear it down. One thing I do know about construction is if a building sits, it dies. And if that building sits, it's going to continue to deteriorate and die. A building without movement will tend to collapse eventually. So we're at the point where we either save it and fix it, or go ahead and make the decision to tear it down. And that's where I believe we're at that point now. So if you guys are saying we don't want to spend that on it, then we need to go ahead and tear it down, because we're at that point. Because a building like that that's in disarray is going to cost us twice this in another year.
So
It's going to cost
Nobody
us
said
twice.
anything about tearing it down. They said to find some money to help us with it. Nobody's saying that. Wait a minute.
The point
building
I'm
put in
making-
1929, it's 90 years old, it's not the cornerstone of anything. And you can't put $4 or $5 million into a building you're not getting anything back out of.
I respectfully disagree
Well, I'm
with
just telling
that,
you,
because
so
a building, if
It's not a
it's,
cornerstone to the city of Biloxi.
in my experience of working as a contractor, the building will continue to go down and the cost will continue to go up. That's automatic.
Well, then you better find somebody to give about $4 or $5 million, because it's gonna cost that much to take care of that building.
So let's go ahead and tear it down, is what you're
You wanna
voting?
tear it down, that's you.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Mr. Dr. Tisdale.
So if I understand the spreadsheet, Mike, correctly, for the Sanger Theater, with a revised budget for 18-19, we're looking at, it says $2,498,233, right? And it says, that's what we budgeted, that's in column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from the left, or whatever. It says the total project budget is $2,507,447, so that's a difference of what, about $9,000?
The differences are probably in the design money.
Well, no, I mean, but what I'm getting at is, so if we were to do this and the project's going to be $2.5 million or $2 million, plus you have to do this other stuff, it's going to be a while before we can even get around to the interior of that, right?
Well,
It-
it will be functional after that.
Yeah, that's right.
The building will be functional.
After this, if we award this contract today, we will actually be able to open the building back up. Everything won't be fixed like we would like it to be, but it will
Right.
be usable at that time.
Right, and
So we can make money.
Yes.
The biggest issue to date has been the exteriors in such crummy shape, probably since most of us here got on the board 6 years ago. Never had the money to do anything. Now we got a little money to do something. We could weatherproof the exterior, at least that much. Does the air conditioner, the HVAC units work in there or no?
They do work. They need to be replaced, but when we shut it down, they were working.
Right, but
Actually, I think they're still working. I've been in there a couple
well,
times.
what I'm thinking
It's-
is, don't you have to keep that interior?
Yeah, and I think, yeah. And
You
then
know,
I'm
climate
pretty sure
control.
that Sherry's kept it going, because I know that she's had her guy go in there and check it. And we've been in and out of that building too a lot of times through this
All right.
design. So
Next
When we closed the
it's
building,
condition.
when we closed the building was because we were told by the structural engineers
Correct.
that it was unsafe because of the fly tower.
Correct. So this will resolve that issue. Now, the next thing is, if the council were to approve this tonight, that's going to get you $2 million for the fly stuff and the roof, whatever, and the north side or whatever, one of the walls. Doesn't do anything to the interior. For another, $600,000, you can repoint and do whatever on the exterior. I don't know if that's a pressing matter. What I'm getting at is, when's the next time we could float another bond issue?
Well, that's not where, I mean, that's,
And I'm just asking the question because as a practical matter, what you see here is all we have to spend for the next few years. And you'd mentioned that before, so I'm looking at it as a practical matter. It's not unreasonable to ask if we move forward to weatherproof the exterior, how long reasonably would it be before we actually have some money to redo the interior so that it is really presentable, rather than just, we'll
don't
spruce
have
it up as
sources.
best we can, they'll
Gomez
still do
somewhere.
recitals, and it won't rain on them, and the structure's safe.
You look at the millage, I think it'll drop off seriously in 3 years. That's what-
Okay, and for some reason I'm thinking,
A couple things. Pensacola has a singer, Harrisburg has a singer. New Orleans put $55 million in this thing. And, I mean, these folks are doing things. The interior can wait if it's funky. As things roll off, you know, we can put.
and that's my question. Until maybe we get some BP money, maybe we get something Go Mesa money, maybe we get Go Jump money, maybe we get Go Something money.
Well, you know, but we're lobbying for another $1 million. I mean, that's a minimum of what we're asking MDA and Archives and History. We need $1 million. Give us $1 million. And that, gets us to the point.
So if we approve this with no alternate bids addition, that nobody's coming back a year from now saying, oh, geez, we got to repoint those bricks or it's going to fall down around our, no, this would be, structurally, this would keep it going.
Christie,
These
what's
are
the
big
period of
issues
performance
addressed.
for this?
Oh, I don't know.
6 to 9 months,
I think so.
when this would be going on. Our thought, honestly, sharing our, in
300 days.
inner thoughts with you, we wondered, is somebody more likely to invest in this building to help us out the way it sits now, or would they more likely invest in it, would MDA more likely invest in it if they saw we were putting our money into it and we're getting it at least back in the shape it could be opened up? And that we were trying to do something to save it.
I'd rather invest in the streets for $3 million, me.
Well, we didn't leave the streets out.
No, I know, but you're taking money from everything else. I know, but we passed this bond to take care of the people with the streets and everything else.
We don't need it.
I don't care what you're gonna do with the singer. You can't have a win with it. I don't care if you put $5-6 million in it. Nobody's gonna take it. You'll never make a penny out of it. It's just an old building sitting there. I'm not for tearing anything down, but I don't know why you can't wait 60 days or whatever and see if the MDA gives us any amount of money, not 50,000. You need somebody to support this thing with $1.5 million. You need a ton of money, because you're gonna want that 2.7 gonna be 5.4 before you finish this thing.
But what I'm getting at is, when we talked about this bond issue, we had a list of projects, and we don't know exactly which ones we're gonna do, but we're gonna do as many as we can, some of what you want, some of what we want. And what you budgeted for the Sanger that time was almost $2.5 million, correct?
correct?
That's in one of the columns here under, I think it's revised budget
We,
fiscal year 18-19.
to make this award, we moved about 500,000. We moved about 500,000 into this project. Other than that, it was funded at $1.5 million.
Okay, that's
Then
what I
we-
was getting
And
at.
that included design.
Okay.
Okay.
So if we approve this, there's $500,000 worth of stuff that won't get done, right?
Correct. There's
Okay, so-
there's a couple $100,000 worth of
So let me tell you,
municipal paving.
it breaks my heart to say this, because you know how passionate I am about the Churchill ditch,
Yeah.
right? And piping that sucker. You can use that money as part of the $500,000 you need, as far as I'm concerned. I can't give up Pine Grove, but I'm willing to give something to get something. And to get something here would be to weatherproof the outside so that we could do something in the future. That's my position. Thank you.
Mr. Deming?
This Sanger, well, first off, Mr. Mayor, if we did the things that New Orleans does, we'd probably all be in jail. But that was supposed to be funny. That was,
That's really funny.
anywho, the Sanger reminds me of my first car. It was a 1986 Suzuki Samurai. And it was, had 186,000 miles on it. I loved that car, but when I first bought it, I had to replace the head gasket. And the mechanic said, it's just going to take you $300 and it'll be running again. Paid the $300. Then the transmission went out. Had to pay for the transmission to be fixed. Then the CV axles went out. And it was one thing after the other. And this is what the Sanger reminds me. We're going to spend $5 million doing all this stuff, and parts are going to continue to fall apart. It's a 90-something-year-old building that's been neglected for a long time. There's no telling how much more money this is going to cost, and we're talking about a considerable amount of money. I know it's the most unpopular thing to say tonight, but I would rather rebuild a state-of-the-art, fully functional facility for less than that amount of money that could do everything the Sanger could do and look exactly like the Sanger did, but cost us less down the road, and we'd be able to do more with it. That's my position. I know it's not popular with you or the majority of the people in your generation, but it's absolutely.
I certainly respect that position. Let me tell you also that there's value in what we're trying to do to the outside world. We had some conversations about people who are looking at building that are in the entertainment kind of ballgame that would feel an opportunity to take this building over and actually be part of their venue. We talked a little bit about the developers.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Deming, I would like to look at the flip side of your Suzuki Samurai. It's unfortunate you had that trouble. But I would like to flip it and look at it differently. Just like the Cruising the Coast classics that we have. We got a classic here, and we have an opportunity to restore it the right way. And if we don't do it the right way, then yes, we're going to end up with a Suzuki Samurai. But I myself would like to invest in one of these classics that we have, like Cruising the Coast. So that's my stand on
If we're
it.
successful in getting 1.5, my goal is to get that exterior done. I'm not going, if we get another 1.5, it's going to be to offset the exterior work, not the interior. Well, I promise you, we're not going to do the interior until a number of things come together, and you could put, $7 million into that easily. A while ago, there's something called a shell that the Gulf Coast Symphony uses. We bought, the city of Biloxi purchased it for about $120,000, for those of you around, when it was there. Now that's $700,000 to $800,000 right now, or $1 million. I'm not going to touch any of it. We're not asking for, I won't be asking for anything to get the roof from leaking and the interior from sweating.
Yeah, but you could,
Again, we will offset, if we're successful, we'll offset that money with put it back in the roads. That would be, my word as a journalist, Steve. That's supposed to be fun.
Is that allowed, though? Would the MDA give us money to offset what we've spent on something, or would the money have to be allocated to that
That's a
project?
good question.
No.
I don't know the answer
No.
to that either.
But,
so,
yeah, well, I think a lot of people would. A lot of people would. But I'm saying, it's my idea, if we are successful with $1 million, $1.3 million, it's to offset that 2 point, or, whatever we put in this contract.
What if we redid this 6 months from now? 9 months from now. How many bidders did you get this time, Christie? Do you know?
We got 3 or 4 bidders, at most. If we rebid it, you never know. It
I
just
know,
depends on
higher,
what
lower, the market may be different.
That's right, economy's improving, that generally.
And this bid's only good for about another week, you
Yeah, it's
said?
only good for about another week.
Yeah.
Oh, you can ask for an extension.
Yeah, July
I'll-
10th.
I'll make
Yeah,
a-
we can ask for an extension if,
Okay.
and he may,
Days to hold the price.
yeah.
You said that's July 10th? is that-
July 10th is our deadline to award unless the contractor grants an extension. We can ask him to hold his bid for longer.
Okay.
If he-
I'd make a motion at this time to table item K and that we ask the contractor to extend whatever that language is.
To extend the bid, ask him
Right.
if he'll hold his bid for, what do you want, 30 days, 60 days?
Well, whoever we got, I think whoever we have going after that money, if it's Keith or whoever,
Right.
they need to be very active in doing this and not sit on their hands and go after this money and see what we can get. I also, and Mike and I've expressed this to y'all as well, I think that, you know, those people that are interested in the building, let them put some skin in the game as well. And see if, you know, there's people out there that invest in these type of things. There's historical companies or associations or whatever that invest in this type of stuff to preserve these buildings. And even if it's a 50,000 here and 50,000, that notches away what we have to come out of our bond. And so let's give it 60 days
Yeah.
and then be very proactive in with MDA and filling out for the grants for the BP funds and all that stuff. And, you know, tell Keith Hurd to earn his money.
My motion would be to table it for 60 days and authorize the administration to see if the contractor will expend the bid price for 60 days.
Moved by Dr. Tisdale to table it for 60 days. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Barrett. Any other questions? All in favor? Okay, 6-0, motion carried. Anything else, Dr. Tisdale?
Thank the Lord, no.
All right, Mr. Deming?
Yeah. Nothing other than I'm in opposition to G and I.
Okay,
Golf and Irene.
G and I, okay. All right. Mr. Lawrence?
I have to recuse myself from B.
And B.
B as in boy, beta.
Yeah, boy, Beta. Yeah, Danielle Scametta. Okay. Yeah, your granddaughter, yeah. Okay, and Ms. Newman is out the room. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and call for the question. It was moved by Dr. Tisdale, second by Ms. Newman. All in favor? Ms. Newman? Ms. Newman was.
Are they not going to vote now?
Okay,
They're
either
not asking
way.
any questions, are they?
Okay, all in favor? Okay, 5-0, 5-0. Note that Ms. Newman is out. I don't know why.
It's official.
Ms. Newman out, I'm gonna bear him off. Okay. Mr. Deming, vote against G and I. And B, Mr. Lawrence, didn't vote, recused himself from B. All right, I'm gonna move on before I get in too much trouble. Code enforcement.
Code enforcement, I guess, I'd really like to talk about the
I wanna make you Ms. Deming for some reason.
The first case on the agenda, item A, Charles Hampton, 330 Porter Avenue. This property is still in violation.
Christie.
Okay. That's it.
Anyone here to speak on behalf of Charles Hampton? Anyone here to speak on behalf of Charles Hampton? Consider that matter closed.
Item B on the agenda, Ann Van Lee, 421 Creason Street. That case has been resolved. Item C on the agenda, S&S Properties LLC, 438 Heidenham. This property is still in violation. That's it.
Okay. Anyone here to speak on behalf of S&S Properties? Anyone here to speak on S&S Properties? Consider that matter closed.
Item D on the agenda, Jerry M. Smith Jr., care of Jared Smith, 12288 Parkers Creek Road. I would ask for another 30 days on this. He works offshore, and they have been working on it. They've got it torn down to nothing but the frame left and the piles to be picked up, and he assured me that if we gave him 30 days, he'd get the rest of it out of there.
Okay. Okay. Moved by Mr. Lawrence, second by Mr. Deming. Any questions? All in favor? Okay, 5-0, 6-0. Motion carried.
Council President, could I call your attention to item 5, Victor V., just briefly?
Yes, sir.
Only to say this, I think it's important that you take a look at the booklets that I left at your place. You are now, as you're voting, you are now the committee, the count committee, you and the mayor. And our intent going forward in getting census awareness is that you work your wards, work the community in your wards, in the unique communities, and then each first Tuesday of every month, when we return back here, the mayor will call for a report from the committee. This is something we have to do in public, and that would give each of you a chance, as well as him, to say what has transpired in the last 30 days in your wards or in his city to raise awareness to the upcoming census. It's just about leading from the front, making the governing authority, the members of the governing authority, the count committee is a way of us taking a position up front to make this important. And I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Christy Hicks, who spoke to you the last time here, brought the books to me tonight to give you each a chance to read what that committee does, and we'll have a chance to talk about that in the future. But I didn't want you
on V.
Sorry. Yeah.
No, what I would like to do is ask Ms. Christie to come on up and just kind of give us that old pep talk she always gives us. She's the driving force behind the census. At my ward meeting, and I know Mr. Deming is having a ward meeting later on this Thursday, and it would be good to have her to come to the ward meeting. She's coming to my ward meeting to kind of give the layout of what we need to do as leaders of our community in order to get everyone engaged.
And actually, if you would, my ward meeting is the 13th on Thursday at 5:30 at the Donald Snyder Building. I've already spoken with some people in my ward about being part of this and helping us facilitate this procedure. So I would love to have you there so you could explain more to the members of my community.
Not here. We only had 3 votes to pass that Sanger.
Good afternoon. I thank you all for agreeing as a council to be a part of the 2020 census and to ensure that all of your residents are counted and they count themselves. We are encouraging everyone to self-respond because that's where we'll get the most accurate information, by someone self-responding. Once the enumerators come to the house after April 1st, then we're just kind of basically depending on them giving us accurate information once they get a knock at the door. I do understand that sometimes when people are knocking at the doors that they don't want to answer, depending on who that person is. That's another reason why we are also stressing that we encourage you all to have the people in your ward to apply for jobs, because we want the people who are going to door to be a part of that neighborhood. So we do stress that you make sure that you let the people in your ward know that there will be jobs available as a part of the enumerator, and these are part-time, full-time jobs, so they work around your schedule. But as a council and a committee, we're just asking that you all, as elected officials, make sure that the people in your ward, for one, understand how important the census is, why we do the census, why should you self-respond, and by not responding to the census, what we're losing. The federal government has allocated over $675 billion, as I stated a couple of months ago, and that's to flow throughout the United States. Cities, states, towns, communities suffer by people not responding to the census. I feel that we can get roughly, you all have about 45, a little more than 45,000?
We think there's going to be 50 before it's over with, so, you know.
I think we can all
But,
get them.
you know, go on, I didn't mean to interrupt, because I want to share some thoughts. We had talked a little bit about what we need to do. We feel like there's 30% undercounted, you know, and every dollar, I think you had mentioned $2,200 a person is what the arithmetic turns out to be. This year, technology, this time, you know, in 2020, technology will be playing more of a role than you think with the online thing. But also, there are a number of databases like, you know, that have are audited, like the free and reduced lunch application databases at our school district, that they actually not only the children, but everybody, all the household members. So, you know, there's ways to bounce, and, you know, it's my intent to get some, you know, to hire folks that we could do the utility databases, the power company, these kinds of folks that say, hey, we missed this, we don't have this address in here, somebody's there, go on a mission. And so those are the kinds of things that we can't leave that turn all of, you know, those rocks over. And I think, truthfully, you know, I don't know what the rest of, but we have an understanding and a plan that we can tie these things together and get, and we're not, you know, we're trying to get anything that's not due us, but we want all that's due us.
Exactly. So I do encourage you all as council members, if there's anything that's going on in your ward, to please contact a partnership specialist to invite them to your ward. And if you don't invite a partnership specialist, you be the voice for your ward in making sure that the people understand. If it in your church, you know, you may get up one Sunday and just give a quick 2-minute spiel about, hey, we need to self-respond this community. We need to make sure that we get all of our dollars for our communities and for our city of Biloxi. So I do encourage you all to give me a call. I have some more business cards if you all don't have it from the last meeting to give you all just to make sure you have partnership specialists working the state of Mississippi. 2010, we got to count, but we know we missed some people. I think they had about 8 or 9 partnership specialists. 2020, we're right at about 13 partnership specialists. By the end of the summer, they want to have right at 40 partnership specialists. So they want to decrease the counties to make sure that these partnership specialists, we as partnership specialists, are able to dig deep and work as hard as we can within the communities. So I am here to represent you all. I'm here to help and try to make sure that we spread the word, encourage self-response, and make sure that people understand why it's important and how their information is protected.
All right, thank you, Ms. Hicks.
Thank you
We
all.
appreciate everything.
Thank you.
All right, we're getting down to the routine agenda. Moved by Dr. Tisdale.
Don't do it, Felix.
Oh. Second by Ms. Newman. George?
2 questions. I'd like to find out how much money we have in the pipeline now. Do we have any coming? There ain't nobody here but you now. Nothing. Okay. And my last question is the 4.8 million you added on is payroll money. Why was that added on? Why that was not originally put in the budget? I mean, in the agenda. Never seen where you added on payroll. Who? All right. So now you have to put it officially on the agenda. Just was wondering why. Thank you.
I'll make that motion to adjourn. Excuse me, to recess. Who seconded that?
To recess.